Hello, I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs. 2016 forward. Now joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, the big story has to be um there's we have quite a few big stories. We almost can't do our show because there's stuff that's worth talking about. So we'll start with Canada winning their division, if you will, allowing for them to be in the Olympics. Last time they were here, 1986. And not only are they in, Aaron, Coach Harden is insinuating that they're going to do some damage.
Well, that's the wonderful thing. Canada was ranked 73rd in July 2020, and they've managed to climb all the way up to 33rd. So, in playing that, they've played its 17th qualifying game, and they are going to Qatar. Thanks to goals by Kyle Aaron, Tajon Buchanan, and Junior Hoylett. They secured a 4-0 victory over Jamaica on a frigid day at BMO Field, and I'm so excited to see them going through to the World Cup in Qatar.
It is truly a monumental moment, a historical one. And I said this before and I'll say it again. The Canadian national soccer team is an example of how, to be frank, candid, and blunt, how immigration can help Canada stand out in the world. And we have people. It's a cross section. It doesn't necessarily look like Canada, because I'm not one of those con artists that try telling you that that would be that's a picture of Canada. It's not a picture of Canada, but it is a picture of immigration and about how Canada is changing and how Canada can be better with new people brought in here with new ideas, new talents, and all that kind of stuff. And what we see here is an English coach coaching immigrant sons who are first generation here in this country, who love this country as much as anybody else. I know some people like me might complain and say, well, I was born here, so I must love the country better than you. I think sometimes we have to take into account as well that there are native Canadians who don't love this country as much as they should. And there are new immigrant Canadians who love this country more than them. And so what I'm trying to say is this is a typical Canada inclusive society working at its best.
And it's absolutely wonderful to see Team Canada gelling the way that they are. As a side note to this, Davies is actually currently training with Bayern Munich and says he'll be back for the Canadian team soon. So that is another additional thing to look forward to heading into Qatar this summer. The rehab is going well, he says. I have no problems with my muscles and heart, but I'm not at 100% yet. I'm just happy I can train again and I'm ready for work.
And Aaron, he was moved to tears. He was so happy.
I've absolutely adored watching his live feeds of him watching the game. It's been great to see.
Yeah, a wonderful human being, a great. Again, we can talk about examples, but first I want to toss out this pebble. It's a Canadian Football League pebble, and this pebble is that finally, after months of conversations about will the CFL be a 3-down league or will it become a 4th-down league? Will it become a 3-down league? Will it become a 4-down league? This went on for, it seems like, my goodness, since the season ended, which is back in December. And finally, the commissioner is being quoted as saying, this is a 3-down league. Duh.
You can't buck tradition that much. as much as you may want to. I can sympathize with individuals who would want a 4-down league. I myself prefer a 3 just because it motivates you to go to the air more. And that to me makes the game more exciting.
But it's the flavor. Sometimes I love this saying because it means a lot to me. a change is as good as a rest. Now, if we replicate what's going on in the NFL, there goes the change,
Yeah.
right? And once the change goes, then what are we? We're just another version of four down football. That's all we become. So right now, we didn't create three down football to be different than the United States, than American football. We were Canadian football. We were three downs. That's what we were. That's what we are. And that's what we're going to be if, regular folks who love the Canadian Football League, who actually go to the games, who actually support the teams, if they have the final say on whether this is a three or a four down league, it'll be a three down league. The four down people who are talking about, you get people like, I don't want to start name dropping because so many people are talking about, well, it needs to be a four down league. These are people who don't care about the Canadian Football League. They could care less. They could care less. Trust me, they could care less. Oh, it's a three down league. Shut up and move on. All right. Speaking of shut up and move on, did you get all your say about three downs in? Did you want to
I think I did, Frank.
Okay. So let's move on to the Toronto Maple Leafs and morons who don't like goaltending in Toronto. Well, now what do you have to say? Now what do you have to say? Huh?
We dropped a game 4-2 to the Habs and followed that up with a 5-2 win. Like I'm at a loss. This goaltending here just makes me tear my hair. But and here's the thing: I know that a lot of Maple Leafs fans like to complain about us getting goalied.
Wow.
Where we get an extraordinary number of shots, and for some reason can't seem to put it in. I would also like to point out that recently another team lost. They put 47 shots on goal, and the opposition only got 13. It happens more often than you care to admit because goalies are good at their jobs. Now, we do occasionally need to get.
There goes Aaron. He hopped on his trophies.
Hey,
Aaron hopped on his trophies.
It's true though. I mean, you got to admit, Frank, every once in a while you do kind of need to get
every once in a while. You're right, but let's discern the difference between the exception that makes the rule and the rule. All right, there's always the exception that makes the rule, but there's also the rule. We must remember the rule as well. What is the rule and what is the exception? In the case of Toronto, the rule is they do not play well against teams that are far lower than them, especially if they're Canadian. That is
very true.
That's my interpretation of what's happening with them. And there's a reason for that. There's a totally obvious reason, especially when we look to the East. They're not going to be in the playoffs. So Montreal, like I said before, and I'll say it again, when they play Toronto this year, it's their Stanley Cup. It's their Stanley Cup. They are left with all they've got to do, and this is what the Leafs were for many, many years. The only reason the end of the season got interesting for the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the day was that they could ruin someone else's day. But they could only ruin their day. They could ruin their season at the very end and get them out of the playoffs. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's all it was. It wasn't a glory seeking. It was basically being a negative thing. So go ahead.
I was going to say, we've played the role of wannabe spoiler so many times, it's not even funny.
I've seen it, been there, done that, have the T-shirt, have the rubber stamp, have it all. It's all in this drawer somewhere, in that drawer. It's obviously, I would rather, if I was, I'd rather be a Leaf fan than a Hab fan right now, even after the Leafs lose, because the Leafs get to go, yeah, you know what? We could probably lose another 4 or 5 against you. You still won't make the playoffs, and we still will.
Yep. As it currently stands, if we go into the playoffs today, we're playing Tampa Bay.
You know what? That's a hunt later. That's a hunt that's later because between honest to goodness, Aaron, I think both of us know this and have enough experience to understand that the moment the season ends is when all predictability goes out the window. In other words, once the playoffs start, there's always a distinct possibility of a surprise. So I'm one of those people that doesn't mind if I have a team that's an underdog, it doesn't bother me that much because underdogs have won enough championships that, it's quite possible. So I think Leaf fans, unfortunately, are at the point where they don't give anything a chance. It's jump all over anything soon. Like as soon as a goalie lets in the goal, it's get rid of them. It's time to get
Got to
rid of
pull
them.
them.
So
Yeah.
so what Leaf fans should do, and I would really like them to take a couple of Valium en masse. Take a couple of Valium. I'm only kidding. I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe drugs, and besides, I wouldn't even know where to get them. So they need to relax and yes, comment, but it isn't the end of the world. The part that I love commenting on is I love having an opinion. It's just part of being a sports fan, a commentator, all that kind of stuff. And another issue we had on the weekend, Jennifer Botterill talked about fighting should be outlawed in hockey. Did you hear any of that?
I heard some of it, but not all of it. There was a lot of chest thumping and brouhaha from certain sectors of the population about how she's never played contact, therefore she has no opinion on the matter.
I'm one of those.
Yeah,
I'm not saying she
I can
doesn't have
understand
no.
that.
No, no. I didn't say that. What I said was there are commentators and there are experts. She is an expert in what she knows, understands, and the important part is experienced. The whole reason why we bring in former players is because they have an insight that commentators, people who do play-by-play who've never played, people who report on the game but never played at that level, at that height,
Yep.
they're commentators. An expert is someone, an expert is not someone who goes to university to look at a science class and then watches science class for 3 weeks and then goes, I'm a scientist. No, it's the people who actually are scientists. In this case, the people who are players, that are the experts that can discuss and help us to understand the significance of fighting in the game. Wendell Clark, Tiger Williams, even Bieksa, who's on that stage, he's had a few fights. They can help us understand why fighting matters in the National Hockey League. Now, somebody outside that sphere, like Jennifer, who wants to, I don't know, purify the game and take fighting out of it. The problem with taking fighting out of hockey, I don't like fighting, by the way. I want to make that clear. I'm not a big fan of fighting. The concern is that if you take fighting out of hockey, you're going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's the concern for, your old-fashioned hockey fans.
Now, I can certainly appreciate that concern from old school fans of the game, as it were. But even as a slightly newer minted fan myself, being born in the 70s, I caught the tail end of the Broad Street Bullies. I caught, the rough and tumble years, that sort of thing. I've played full contact hockey in which there's fighting. I've never actually been in a fight myself, but at the same time, I do still think that it is an important safety valve.
You believe that?
If the referees aren't doing their jobs, the fact that they get a fight is the biggest indicator to the referees that they need to smarten up and do their job better.
Which is why people use the term that the players police themselves.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for the most part, they do. I mean, occasionally you do get idiots who go too far. There are certain high-profile cases that you can think of.
You can go too far without throwing a punch.
Yep.
Right?
And a couple occasions, there was one individual that was left in a wheelchair. There was another one who was left on the ice for several minutes after having smacked his head after taking a stick to the ear. That's the way that these things go.
I think you're right. And I think the bottom line is violence isn't really a good idea, is my opinion. And you're right.
On that, you and I don't disagree, Frank.
And you're right. I've said my piece. I don't like fighting, but it's a safety valve. And the guys that play the game under the conditions that they play it, I trust their judgment more than I do people outside of that group.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the people outside can't have an opinion, like Jennifer, like me, like you. We have an opinion. We don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way fighting looks. I shouldn't speak for you. I don't like the way fighting looks. I think it doesn't have a good look and it isn't, to me, part of sports. But I'm not playing the game, and the people directly involved in the game, if they're telling me just to fluff me off that, it has to happen like you said, it's a safety valve, right? then I'm insulted, then I'm hurt, then I'm pissed. But for now, I believe they're right that the threat of having to pay a price for what you do is a way of the players policing themselves.
And it's especially apparent when the referees don't call anything.
Well,
If there
what
happens to be a foul and the referees don't call it,
well,
be sure
why don't we
and
go? Why do we go with Montreal winning against the Leafs and the winning goals scored after a slew foot on a subject matter that we've talked about, that Austin Matthews does not get penalty calls?
No, he's currently 352nd, I think, when it comes to penalties drawn in the
Probably
NHL.
353rd now after
I
after the Montreal game.
I tell you,
That was a slew foot.
here's the most incredible part to me. I find it absolutely amazing that there are 31 other NHL teams that manage to play Austin Matthews as cleanly as they do when he's one of the bigger and faster players in the league.
We saw an example of what you have to do to stop Austin Matthews. You have to cheat.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
not
to
legal.
trip him, and that's what you have to do. So I was surprised and I was really taken aback by the fact that the Leafs didn't complain about that. Even the coach, I've seen the coach after that. You noticed that after that, the coach started getting sensitive about stuff that wasn't being called after that, but not at that time, which to me was a key moment in the game. It was a third period
Mhm.
goal to put the team, Montreal in the lead. So and I'll summarize my point on this is that there are good calls made for teams. There are bad calls made for teams. All we can hope for, Aaron, aside from the fact that referees are perfect, that their decisions, when you add them up, are balanced. I wonder sometimes.
No, there needs to be some sort of a metric for that sort of thing, something measurable. I know that the NBA does their, but they have a 2-minute call. Basically, what they'll do is they'll summarize everything that happened in the game in about 2 minutes, and let you know what wasn't called, what was called, if there were any changes to any of the scoring, that sort of thing. The NBA is good for doing that sort of thing, and it
You know
makes
why
their
they
referees
started
more
doing that,
accountable.
right? You know
Mhm.
why they started doing that.
Betting.
And the opposite reason we're complaining about what's going on with Austin Matthews. In the NBA, they were showing much more preference to the stars of the game, right?
And
And
in this
then
case, in Toronto, in hockey in general, the star players tend to get frozen out.
Absolutely.
So,
And it depends, but it does depend what team you play for. Because if you play for New York, trust me, you're going to get pretty straightforward calls. It's going to be pretty straightforward. Okay, so Toronto loses to Montreal. They Montreal well deserved for the victory. The slew foot aside, they did what they do against Toronto is they play well defensively, take advantage of every mistake the Leafs make, and then come out with a victory.
it's standard procedure for them. It's jump on the little things at every opportunity that they have, and Lord knows the Leafs do make enough mistakes. So, but I
And
mean, the
we
good news is the Leafs had a game right after that
yeah,
against
go
one of
ahead.
the league leaders to try to turn things around again and managed to reverse the score. So instead of losing 4-2, they won 5-2. So that
And
was a nice,
a much better team, and
yes,
they played much better.
a significantly better team. And again, this is I think part of what drives us Maple Leafs fans so crazy is
Hey,
the
Mike,
fact
how you
that
doing? Uh,
it's the fact that these teams,
Hi,
they
Dave.
play so poorly against bottom dwellers, but play so well against the elite teams.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we saw them play really well against Florida. And a stat that I heard is that the new defenseman there, that guy there that comes from Toronto,
Oh,
he's
that
been on.
Giordano fellow.
Yeah, he's been on the ice for 60% of the Leaf goals.
Goals for or goals against?
Goals for.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a relief.
That's not bad.
No, not
That's
at
not
all.
bad. I like the guy, and we talk about this all the time. What do we like? What do we both like about Spezza? And if I'm exaggerating your opinion, feel free to correct me. His experience, his commitment to work as hard as he can, and his total professionalism is a benefit to the rest of the players on the team. We can say that about Giordano now as well.
Oh, most definitely. And you know, I find it interesting that in the past couple of years, the Leafs have made trades to bring in other teams' captains. So I think they're really they're starting to enter win now mode because Matthews is coming down towards the tail end of his deal. I think he's got a couple of years left on that. Tavares isn't getting any younger. Neither are Spezza, Simmons, or Giordano. So you know the importance here is get in the veteran help that you need to move everything forward and hopefully get this team past the first round and into a little deeper into the playoffs.
Now, what the Leafs have to do when it comes to Tavares is when he's not looking, one of them should hit him early in the game.
Get him fired up.
Well, it seemed to
It's
fire
really
him
what you
up.
got to do, right?
No, but didn't it seem that the hit seemed to fire him up? He got all upset with the official. He
Yeah.
got really his head got wrapped around the game 100%. Hughes scores twice, but the Devils beat the Canadians 3-2 in a shootout.
Yeah, so you know, this is again one of those things where the Habs went out, had a great game against the Leafs on the Saturday, and then pulled a stinker against the Devils. Hughes had 2 goals as one of 4 Devils to score in a 7-round shootout. So they came back after blowing a 2-goal lead to beat the Habs 3-2 on Sunday. So Jesper Bratt, Dougie Hamilton, and Yegor Sharangovich also tallied from the shootout. Nico Dawes was the one that sealed it off for them. It's you know, it's one of those things where
Yeah, okay. Panthers beat Senators 4-3.
again another one of those games that was actually really exciting. And again, it was one of those games that went to a shootout. So it's honestly, man, the Sens are just fun hockey to watch.
Scheifele scores twice. Winnipeg overtime winner.
Yeah, finally looking a little decent. You know, they look like they're picking up steam again. They seem to go through these ups and downs throughout the season. So,
Goodero is getting gooder.
oh, Gaudreau put up 5 points. Calgary won 9-5 over the Oilers, 3 goals a period.
They had the lead to Edmonton.
Just
Vancouver, Pettersson scores twice. He's rounding into shape. Poor start to the season, but playing much better of late.
yeah, no, it seems that a lot of the confidence issues that he had earlier in the season have started to fade into the past for him. So I'm glad to see that he's working through it.
All right, we got a couple of minutes left. Anybody who watched the Academy Awards got a bit of a thrill, but if you watch the Academy Awards outside of America, including Canada, you heard what was said. So for those of you that caught up with it, of course, Will Smith, the kids told me, I got a message. The kids said, he bitch slapped them.
That's pretty much what it seemed
I don't know
like.
what that means, but apparently bitch slapped was what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, he walked up in the middle of what Chris Rock was doing and just slapped him across the face, effectively shutting it down. Chris Rock made a joke about G.I. Jane 2 with reference to Jada Smith in the starring role because she has alopecia and has, as a result, gone bald.
Well,
So,
he was making a crack about her bald head, and she looked, you know, and then he's looking forward to her, you know, having that bald head in G.I. Jane 2. What he did was tasteless, no doubt about it, right? But that tastelessness required a bit of a reach too, to be fair. It required a bit of a reach. He didn't say you got a terrible hair problem and ha ha ha. He didn't do that. But he pointed to her bald head, which is central to G.I. Jane. That started with Bruce Willis's wife, remember?
Demi Moore, yep,
Yeah,
shaving her
started
head.
with her, right? With the bald head too, right? She had the bald head too. And so it's not the character, right? So, and I don't know, you can tell me, do you know for a fact that Chris Rock knows that she has alopecia?
Oh yeah, no,
He
he
knows?
fully
Okay.
knows.
Then
He fully knows.
then he's dancing on a line he shouldn't be dancing.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true.
Last thought on this, for someone who directed a documentary about Black women's hair and the part that it plays in their identity and their psyche, it's very, very in bad taste that Chris Rock would go ahead and make a joke like that at someone else's expense.
But Aaron and Frank together do not believe that violence is justified in any sense.
Correct.
We understand the desire to do so. That is understandable, that you'll want to just slap the guy silly. I get it. In my head, I would have felt the same way if I was, but I just don't think I'd go and do it. no matter how much smaller than me he was.
And there you have it, folks, in a nutshell.
Aaron, good to talk to you today. It was fun.
Thanks, Frank.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live here on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.